I'm Jeff Bigby. I'm the stormwater manager, as he said, for the city of Broken Arrow. I'm a civil engineer, and I'm also the floodplain administrator. So I kind of, look at stormwater quality from a little different angle than a lot of people. I know there's a great number of landscape architects, environmental professionals here. It's good to see all the different kind of groups. They're all have their finger on stormwater kind of in one place. So it's a great thing here. What I'll go over today is a little bit of some things that the City of Broken Arrow has done in getting a low-impact development certification program up and running, how it's worked, and kind of where we're headed with it. Again, low-impact development, I think most of you all kind of know what it is, but just for a definition, it's a land development strategy that attempts to replicate the pre-development hydrology conditions as best possible to produce negative stormwater quality and quantity impacts. So we need to look at it not only from the stormwater quality, but from also the flood control side of things. Presently, EPA and DEQ do strongly encourage use of low-impact development principles to meet Phase 2 permit requirements. The exact LID requirements are still kind of up in the air. How tight will the screws be turned on the next round of the permits? So that's kind of still up in the air. But the City of Broken Arrow did implement an LID certification program in 2010. How do we do it? How has it fared? What lessons have we learned? That's some of the things I'll go over. What we did is we did form an internal city staff committee. We did have some outside consultants and such. We had one of our city council reps. We had someone from the Tulsa County Conservation District. We had INCOG, local COG reps. We had various different city departments, the parks director, the engineering construction chief, the development services director, a good environmental private engineer, a local developer that had really done a lot of residential developments. We tried to get at least a pretty good mixed group to kind of go over with some of the goals and things we wanted to implement. Anytime you form a new technique, you have to hammer out a mission statement fairly quick. So here was our mission statement. Just encourage the incorporation of low-impact development techniques into all public and private developments in Broken Arrow. So our committee got to work trying to narrow down hundreds and hundreds of possible LID practices down to 10 or 12 that we might just want to emphasize, a little more on the local level. The committee decided that voluntary LID program developers with a local green certification with community acknowledgement would be the way that we would look at it within the City of Broken Arrow. Different Phase 2 communities may come up with their own emphasized practices and incentive programs. So in Oklahoma anyway, it's all kind of, each community kind of going at their own way. So that's what's a little tough with us, and that's why I really like to see a lot of the different communities and stuff kind of participate in events like this. Really good to really look at it collectively as well. Okay, some of the things about our certification program. It is a voluntary program for developers, property owners, or even homeowners associations seeking LID certification. As he mentioned earlier, a lot of the existing development, you not only need to look at what you're going to do for new development from here on out, but maybe even possibly retrofitting or getting some existing homeowners associations and groups really looking at how they maintain their open space. So it's for both residential and commercial as well, existing or proposed. We have a flexible list of LID practices for the applicant to incorporate into their project design or property retrofit. There are some possible construction cost savings as some of the presenters may look at here today. If you do have more green space, you may have more landscaping budget, but maybe you can reduce some of the storm sewer pipe. And maybe if you can squeeze out a little bit of the impervious area from the roadway, you might have some cost savings ultimately for the upfront cost. So we have a point system of practices implemented with a bronze, silver, gold, or platinum certification. What we really have is kind of like a little poor man's weed. I mean, it's really a local version of that, where we want to actually have some certification on the local level. It'll be kind of it's worked right into our development review process. There's not any kind of separate track of really having to do a lot of extra red tape or things like that. So we wanted to get a certification program going in place. If businesses or neighborhoods do want to have the certification, they can get some direct marketing efforts from the city, including site certification, signage, we'll give them a plaque, like a green development listing, posting on our webpage, just a few free things to maybe get a little splash about their new development or even possibly their existing neighborhood. A lot of my presentation here goes over some specific LID practices. A lot of you probably know more than I do about a lot of these, but I'll just kind of go through fairly quickly some of the things. Private open space maintenance practices. How do you handle that landscape? How much fertilizer do you apply? What pesticides do you do? Do you have low use irrigation systems? Those type of things. How do you maintain the open space you have is a very important thing of LID. One thing in Oklahoma, we all have a fairly good grip on, it seems like, on the flood control. We have stormwater detention ponds. Almost every new neighborhood has these, or we have large city regional ones. What can you do with them to help water quality as well? That's one of the challenges engineers need to really look at. Do you have underwater aerators, pond fountains, pond forebay areas, things of that nature where the pond itself can really do some stormwater quality benefit as well as flood control. Vegetated swales, another implement of LID. And they can slow down the overland velocities. They act as pollutant filters. They can add some open space to some neighborhoods. One thing you really have to look at is make sure the designs are maintenance friendly to the owners, so you don't really have standing water or nuisance or code enforcement issues that could be created with this. So this is a picture of an old county neighborhood, and quite honestly, a lot of times, a lot of what we're looking at on LID is almost going 50 years back to an old county subdivision design where you had large lots, you had bar ditches, you had narrower streets, you had open swales between yards. So what is old becomes new again, but you kind of have to look at it, try to modernize it to really kind of get the expectations of the new era homeowners. A big thing we look at that is always a big issue for those on the municipal side is when you have a very large tract and you have 40, 60 acres clear at one time and scout the whole site and clear it and then try to manage the silt from leaving that site during construction. So if you can do some things to try to do a little bit of phasing on projects where you don't disturb all the land at once, do some knower disturbance areas. Of course, if you can try to leave some clumps of trees in long term, of course, that's a good thing to do as well. Good housekeeping during construction. How well do developers and builders react to the pollution and erosion control changes to the plan? Here's a picture, an ugly picture from a Broken Arrow project where the development had these tiers and tiers of silt fence, but you can still see the stormwater looking like chocolate milk draining right down to the storm drain. So when that happens, that has to be cleaned up. So just need to really look at some things that you actually do during construction is a very critical part of this as well. Broken Arrow is a lot of construction going on at all times, so that's a really big deal with us. Here's a lot of what was presented by the gentleman before on reducing the impervious areas. That is something we really need to try to get a handle on and see how we can do that on new developments. Things such as a little bit narrower street widths. Broken Arrow has a code where you have to put sidewalks on residential developments unless it's like a private gated community or something. So you've got to try to figure some ways, how do you reduce that impervious area within the public right of way or on the public facilities? That's one aspect of it. So we are looking at doing some things with a little bit narrower street widths are a possibility. We've got to really make that work out. But we do have that capability within our LID practice manual. One thing the city has done, even on some of our public projects, is here's a roadway we widened 3 or 4 years ago, Lynn Lane, just literally about 5 or 6 miles south of here. instead of what used to be the standard 50-foot wide 4-lane width, this one we squeezed it down a little bit. It's 45-foot wide instead, which works out to about an 11.5-foot wide traffic lane instead of 12.5, I believe. I'd like to say it was just for stormwater quality purposes, but I'll just really flat out tell you, this particular case, it was really to try to squeeze down the right-of-way purchase that you have to make when you widen roads. You have to deal with those landowners to get that little extra bit of right-of-way. It can get very expensive, so reducing the street lane widths can actually have other benefits. There's less, 45-foot of pavement to maintain over the course of the next 50 years life of that roadway or whatever is a lot more manageable than 50. So there's a lot of benefits if you can squeeze just a little bit of impervious area even out of the roadway. Then there's the issue of privately owned impervious areas. And a lot of these categories are things that we really do cover in our practices manual, of things that you can get credit points for. So if you have, like, especially private residential subdivisions, a lot of times you want to have, walking trails or even the private driveways, homeowners associations, parking areas, some of those things where you have private impervious area. There's some things that can be done to try to reduce the impervious area or the stormwater quality benefits of that. This would be like a pedestrian trail would be a great opportunity to really to do some experimentation with the impervious pavements, things of that nature. So that's one thing we're really wanting to encourage. Another thing, you see a lot of creek floodplain setbacks is another issue. There are some states and actually some municipalities, mostly in other states, that do have actual land buffer creek setbacks for development. You can look at it from the stormwater quality side of things, where it really does provide some extra buffer, but you can also, on my side of it, as a floodplain manager, it's a lot less erosion potential, a lot of other things that benefit from it. So if you try to avoid, kind of like this house is, where they're not built on the creek, but they're sure fairly close to it. So a lot of times you'll have erosion issues and other floodplain issues as well. If that house could have been possibly set back another 10 or 15 feet, it probably would have done a lot of benefit for a lot of things. So that's one thing that we really try to kind of stress, is try to really get some of the creek setbacks, especially in highly erodible areas and maybe even on sensitive streams that kind of thing. This isn't specifically stormwater management related, but one thing we do have on the residential practices is we do give some points if the houses or the commercial building is designed with like a energy efficient building design. We want to give some points on that to kind of give credit for other types of conservation of energy and recycling, things of that nature. So it's just kind of one small component tied into our stormwater LID practice manual. Impervious surfaces disconnection. If you do have, the impervious area that you will on the development, if you can disconnect them and not tight line them right to the street and then right to a storm sewer and then right to a paved flume and then right to the creek without it ever touching a piece of grass, try to avoid that. Get that roof drain going across the vegetation of somehow, some way. Do some things like rain barrels or cisterns to try to reuse some of that water, possibly get it back into the ground instead of watering your yard with tap water that's treated at the water plant. So you can do some conservation things as well that helps not only the stormwater quality but also water conservation, which is becoming bigger and bigger. Trees, tree preservation, planting, and landscaping. The arborist will really tell you there is really, economic and social benefits of having the trees on development. So if you can save trees that are on a site and kind of design around them as much as you can, that can have a great benefit. If you do have to take most of the trees out on a site development, if you can replant some, it can really have some good air quality benefits, just aesthetics. This can really add some value to the land if you really make sure that you have a good tree program. A lot of cities do have landscape requirements, and this is the kind of thing where a lot of the developments are already doing types of things where they have tree plantings or landscaping, but we want to give them some stormwater quality benefits points for this certification for that, so that's an important thing to focus on. Of course, rain gardens, bio-retention filters, there's a lot of presentations here today that will mention those. They can be on very private, individual lot level, or they can be kind of larger rain gardens that really take a little bit more concentrated flow, possibly from street systems and such. But emphasizing draining that stormwater through some systems like this to really try to help the pollutant load drop is a good thing. We did a rope mirror rain garden demonstration project we did a couple of years ago. We got an Oklahoma Conservation Commission grant that helped construct one at our Ray Harrell Nature Park. And it was a nice little setup. We had if you kind of see on there, the parking lot, it all just drains straight along that curve and drops right to the storm sewer right on the corner. And what the rain garden did is it was constructed where the water will kind of enter the rain garden through this little curb cut, go through the filtering plants and such, and then so it comes down this way and drops back in to the same storm sewer inlet, but it gives a little bit of treatment for that storm water rolling off that pervious parking lot. There actually was a public education component to it. We did get some signage up there since this is a nature park, so it kind of gives an educational process to it as well. So it's a really successful project, and it's functioning very nice. One thing that we can do is a lot of us, municipal folks have stacks and stacks and stacks of brochures. We have all these stormwater quality brochures. One thing that could be beneficial is a good system to get these out to new homeowners. If a new subdivision came in and they really, as a subdivision level, wanted to be green certified, you could maybe have a system where each new homeowner got a stack of these, stormwater quality, brochures and things like that. Some things like to distribute even a little bit more of the education. Not just brochures, but other methods as well. But just educating the end users of the development of the importance of how to take care of your open space and implications of some of the things you do on the homeowner level, like how do you washing your car in your yard or picking up your pet waste or things like that. Just getting a little bit more of that aha moment in some people's head could really help out. Extra trees and landscapings, add aesthetic, shade, and stormwater pollutant filtering. These are almost all these are City of Broken Arrow sites that you're seeing. Good housekeeping during construction. We'll give a little bit of extra points if you do some things above and beyond the DEQ minimum requirements. Just a little extra, maybe reporting of the inspections and things like that nature to try to kind of get a little bit, bit more professionalism, a little better grip on the construction site, siltation and roading control. Open space maintenance practices, not only on the residential side, but even on the commercial and business side of things. I mean, how do they pick? Do they pick up the trash on their side? How much fertilizer and pesticides do they use? What kind of irrigation systems do they have? Do they have material storage that can be an issue? Do they, all different kinds of things on the commercial and business side of things can also affect the stormwater. So we wanted to write this practice where it was not only for residential but commercial and all types of development that really have different types of issues for each one. Again, low water use irrigation systems really can have some benefit of water reduction for conservation. Less kind of steady flow of water right down to the creek or wasted watering that rolling right out to the street, things of that nature. Try to get people to look a little bit better at their irrigation systems for their lawns and landscaping. 5 ways to reduce tossed and blowable trash. I mean, you hear a lot of these things on the pollution, but even just the trash that blows around from commercial areas can be a really big deal because I deal with the floodplain management side of things all the time, and I go meet with creek owners, and they say, why should it be my job to pick up the trash of all the people that dump it and it flows in the creeks and drops on my property? Well, you know, it landed on your property, it's your problem. But realistically, I don't know a great solution to this, but there needs to be a little bit more thought to try to get the trash collection as it's scattered, you know, on the commercial areas especially, so it doesn't all flow right down to the creeks where as we know, it really does end up. Dumpster maintenance can be a big issue. I do all the development reviews for stormwater broken here, and I always kind of look and see where they're going to put their dumpster. I see a few of them where they say, oh, I'm going to put me storm inlet right by this dumpster. No, that's not a great idea. Let's look at it and try to get a little bit of common sense of, you know, some of the side impacts of where the trash dumpster is, where the grease traps are, where are some of the other issues that can have stormwater impact. Try to get them thinking about that kind of thing. Pavement maintenance practices, you know, power washing, ice and snow removal, routine spray downs, charity car wash events, asphalt patches, a lot of those issues. If you just get the owners educated a little bit about some of those issues that can have stormwater impacts, that can be something to really help out. Impervious surfaces disconnection, not only can be on residential, but this is a picture of an office building in Broken Arrow, and it wasn't an LID design. This was put in 10, 15 years ago, but you just see the parking lot just drains sheet flow, actually crosses the sidewalk before it drains down to the street. Civil engineers this used to be a big no-no. You collect that in the curb and then you pipe it to the storm system. You don't do that. Are you crazy? Why are you trying that? But this works, and this is the kind of thing, just simple things like this on sites can really help out big picture-wise for the stormwater quality control. Here's another little more unique design, one of those that's more recent, where they just have kind of a little specially formed curve where they just let the water seep out to. This was a mitigated 404 permit channel over here, so you do have some drop into that. Here's just a picture of this. Would have been a nice rain garden site, but it wasn't built that way. You know, development built 15, 20 years ago. So we did, our committee did get our manual created in 2010. Give you a little bit of what this really is. It's just a general guide of LID practices that we want to encourage in Broken Arrow. It's a resource for the developers, design consultants, property owners. It is not a design criteria manual. I mean, I don't tell you how you're going to build a rain garden, and that's what conferences like this are helpful to really get some of the impervious pavement specs and some of the rain garden designs and things like that. So it's not really a scientific document to tell you how to measure the water quality impacts or a thorough best management practices catalog. It's just really a green certification to get development headed that way. I think there's a lot more work still to be done at the state level and individual cities to really get those kind of things going. So I'll just kind of fly through these. This just kind of shows that we do have different levels of the certification, platinum, bronze, gold, silver. We have it for residential developments, new non-residential developments, existing residential, and existing non-residential. So we kind of have 4 main categories. This just gives you a little bit of the detail of all the different types of things we're looking at. It's like a cafeteria of different things you can pick and choose for your site, whether they're applicable or not. If you have a detention facility, you can do some things. If you don't, you just don't pick that one. So you pick some of the things that are applicable to your site and that you can get points credit for, and you kind of work it out with the city on the application. And we have different ones for non-residentials and emphasizing a little bit different things here and there for the residential versus the non-residential. And we do give certification for existing developments. And just kind of some more examples of kind of a little bit of a level of detail. We do have this on our webpage if anyone is interested. Okay, what's the impact then? We put this together back on Earth Day, 2010. We had 2 certifications done right from the start. One was existing residential development, one was a ongoing commercial. Since that time, we haven't had any. So we've had some public education come from this. I just kind of think of that line from Field of Dreams, if you build it, they will come. Not in this case. We're not seeing developments or even commercial businesses really just jump at the chance to get a little bit of green certification. This is a voluntary program. So what is keeping the developers and the engineers and consultants from seeking this? Is it just extra design cost, they think? Or is it a hurry to get the project done? Unfamiliar LID design practices, fear of long-term maintenance issues. There's a lot of things that are out there. We're just still trying to figure out exactly what the drawbacks are on a voluntary LID program. As someone asked before, how do you get some of these things going unless big bad EPA comes and tells you to do it? That's the challenge we have, is to try to drum up interest in the LID. When we got this manual started in 2007, the economy was going gangbusters. We had a dozen new residential developments a year. When the 2010 hit, we were right in that little recession, so there's just very little development. So there hadn't been a whole lot, but things are starting to get busy a bit again with commercial and residential, so we could see some more opportunities to really do it. I'll kind of fly through some of these. We had a demonstration project for a thing where we had a park project where we did some creek erosion control issues, but we did things in an LID kind of fashion. We just did a gravel access road to the creek side. You know, didn't have to pave it or anything like that, so we tried to keep it as natural as possible, keep as many of the trees in the overbank of the floodplain as possible. Did a fountain, aerators, fountain in the pond that was constructed for some extra flood volume and small flow detention within the floodplain. We have 404 permits, so we have some pre-planning mitigation. We designed the parking lot for this low-intensity park, just kind of on the trees. We wanted to keep those in place. We just let the sheet flow from the parking lot right down to the creek instead of curbing it and piping it down to the creek. So we tried to do some LID type features on this park. Try to preserve the water quality streams. Real quickly, as a policy thing, our code really just has 3 little paragraphs on LID. The first paragraph just kind of describes what it is. Second one just says we're going to encourage it. We don't really have specs for it. And the third one just says we have a practices manual. And that's where a lot of communities in Oklahoma are at. We don't have, very much code written in our ordinances about the LID. That's the challenge, to try to get together and try to figure how some of those things are being done. Encouraging this contest that we're in. One of the sites is in Broken Arrow that you'll see on the contest later today. So we want to really participate in the contest as much as possible. Just some things, it's a new approach. There will be new techniques and experimentations required. You need all different types of government officials, property owners, consultants to get on board. They'll have floodplain benefits as well, and just some common sense things that engineers can really do on their flood design. It has a lot of overlap to the stormwater quality. So with that, I'm wrapping up and hopefully get you guys to lunch here.
Yeah, I think maybe one question. One question. Anybody? Okay.
Quickly, have you had anybody in your development community actually tell you why they don't want to participate?
Not really. I go to every single pre-development meeting for any new development in Broken Arrow, and I bet I have pitched this thing 80 to 100 times. It kind of falls on deaf ears. It's all real. They don't say they don't like it, but they don't say I'm going to do it either. I think everyone's in a busy kind of to get going.
We'll let Lindsay Rouse go ahead.
He may be able to answer some things there.
Perspective. First of all, I'd like to say Broken Arrow has been great for being, in Oklahoma anyway, forefront of leading people towards low impact development. You guys have done a great job. Some of our surrounding communities in the metropolitan area, I think, need to grab a page from the Broken Arrow playbook, so to speak. I think part of it, frankly, is education.
Yeah.
I talk to a lot of, getting the word out, and it will come, I think, personally. A lot of developers I talk to, and even the apartment project we work on, he didn't embrace it because he didn't know
Right.
anything about it. He was, I guess, maybe
Yeah.
a little afraid of it, you know?
And I see some of that, and I'm a little bit surprised. We've had new Walmarts being built in the last 3 or 4 years. We've had some new big corporations that build LID on their sites in California or Georgia, and they don't do it here unless they have to. So I'll
I
just say
had one other
that.
quick thing I was wondering about, Jeff, if you don't mind.
Yeah.
Has there been any thought of bringing the recognition program, silver, bronze, gold, down to either new home construction or rehab?
You mean on the individual house level?
Yeah, where a
Well, that's
person
an
might have a
idea.
gold plaque or something.
Yeah.
I've always felt like it might add value. Once housing becomes used, you
Yeah.
don't know what the hell
Right.
to build, you know, when you
Yeah.
go to buy a house.
Well, that would be interesting. Yeah, we
You know,
could.
the question is how you monitor it.
Right.
Might be something to think about.
Yeah,
I think that's a good point.
it's just a shotgun approach to really kind of get the ball rolling, but we really want to see these things happening, and
Yeah.
I think Tulsa's really getting gung-ho
Well,
on it now.
I wanted to thank Jeff for his courage, I mean, literally his courage, because he is a smaller municipality, and we get beat up at the city of Tulsa some too, but he's branched out and done a great job in Broken Arrow, and really what he's been talking about all leads to this design competition. So that's what it's all about, that's going to help us out. And again, thanks a lot.
Thank you.